In retirement, your paycheck stops, but your expenses don't. In this video, I'm going to show you how we use the 5-year war chest as a bucket strategy to provide some predictability in your cash flow through retirement. So first, let's talk about what is a war chest, a 5-year war chest. This is money set aside to provide income from your investment portfolio to supplement things like Social Security and pension that you may be receiving somewhere else. So when we do this, we're building what we call a bond ladder or a fixed income ladder, which when I'll share this picture on the screen, you'll be able to see that that'll probably make some more sense. But what we're doing is we're breaking down that bucket further into 5 mini buckets. Each one of those mature at a designated time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, so on. And at the end of the maturity of that 1-year bucket, you can see that the proceeds are reinvested into a new 5-year maturity investment. And so what we do is we always have a rolling 5-year period of investments set aside to help provide you that steady income. Now, what we would actually do when we turn the income on is instead of taking those proceeds and buying another rung on that ladder, we would actually use that to kick out and as income for you to use. So after the first year, you'd be down to 4 rungs on the ladder. And then after the second year, you'd be down to 3 rungs. And so that gives us that full 5-year, that 60-month window to be able to provide additional income to you from your portfolio without having to worry about where that check's coming from, without having to worry about the markets or the economy or who said what on TV or what geopolitical thing just happened. None of that matters. What matters is your paycheck has been set aside and systematically ready to be sent to you on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, however you wish. So in principle, that's how we do it. In reality, we go a step further. So I'm going to walk you through maybe an example. Let's assume you had $1 million portfolio and you needed $40,000 a year to live on. So what we would do is we would take $40,000 times 5 years in the war chest bucket, and that would give us $200,000 set aside. So you'd have $800,000 in equities, and we'd have $200,000 in the fixed income war chest. From there, we would put $40,000 into each rung of this bond ladder, this fixed income ladder. And at maturity, instead of taking and buying another rung on the ladder, that money would be freed up to then provide the following year's income. And so again, this is a great strategy to provide some predictability in how we're going to generate your income, your supplemental income in retirement. And, I guess one example to think about this is we recently had a client come on from one of the large national RIAs, very big, and they kept being emphasized, you're in a 70-30 portfolio, you're okay, don't worry about it. You're going to live till 95 and, we got a plan for this actuarially, you're in a 70-30. And, when we showed him this strategy, it clicked, it all just made sense. What they had failed to do is help him understand that they have his income set aside in a way that he doesn't have to worry about where it's coming from or worry about if the market's dropping, is he still going to get his check? The way that we've designed it for clients is in a way that we know clients have that predictability. And I can say, Mr. and Ms. Client, we have 58 months of income left in our 5-year war chest. We have 36 months of money left in our 5-year war chest. As that depletes, we'll rebalance from the equity side and refill those buckets. But that gives us 2, 3, 4, and even 5 years if needed of the equity side growing for you, staying invested in equities for the long term so that they have growth to be able to replenish that bucket, the 5-year war chest bucket, when that side gets depleted. And so while it's one overarching portfolio, we're not just throwing you in a 70-30 because that's what sounds good or that's what some risk tolerance questionnaire told us to do. We're looking very strategically in how you need income, what income you need, and that's how we're determining what goes in that war chest bucket. So again, in this example, we've got $40,000 in 5 years of this bucket. In total, we've set aside $200,000 for you to use to generate income So the next question is, well, what happens if an emergency happens? Well, in theory, we should have a 6-month emergency fund as well. But in reality, if we need a new roof, if we need a new vehicle or transmission or something happens and we're not prepared for it, we have that money there. We can just borrow from it, or we can tap it earlier to use it. We don't have to just follow it so stringent that, we can't have access to it. But, we would want to plan for potentially replacing that sooner if we do spend it down faster than anticipated. So it's a great strategy to use for providing that income that people just don't know how to plan for when they're told, you have a 70-30 model or an 80-20 model or a 60-40 model. So what we've seen is that it gives people clarity and reassurance and structure in knowing they have this ladder to provide income for a set period of time. We can refill that ladder as needed so that we always have kind of that 5-year bucket in perpetuity for retirement. So why does this work? It reduces stress, it helps predictability, gives you tons of flexibility. Most importantly, it also helps offset inflation, because as we do it, we can factor in inflation or increases in your retirement spending down the road. We have seen this to be very beneficial for clients. So this is how we're marrying the bond ladder, which we've talked about in the past, into a real world example of how do we use it in practice with our clients. Thanks for watching. Be confident in your retirement. Have a wonderful day.